and get us started. So we're going to start with board updates. Nancy, did you guys have a meeting last week?
We did. Obviously, a lot of what we're focused on right now is getting ready for conference. There was a vote. You might remember that. I don't remember if it was our last meeting or the meeting before that. We talked about the request by the Learner Engagement SIG to become a division. And they had given us time to go back to our divisions and get some feedback and input on that. And then in this most recent meeting, they did invite those folks from the SIG to kind of give us a little presentation of, what their argument is, why they want to be a division, what they think will benefit them more so than being a SIG. Part of that kind of seemed like they may not understand exactly the differences, but that's okay. A lot of discussion afterwards that seemed to kind of go up and down. Initially, a lot of it seemed opposed, and then the tide kind of turned, and we started talking about it in a more positive way. Ultimately, the vote was approved, so they will be a new division. The way that the AECT bylaws are written is the first year is kind of probationary, which is part of why we ultimately decided to go ahead and do it, because they're a division for a year, then we have an opportunity to review it again and see if we feel that should become a permanent situation or not. So they have been given that 1-year probationary status. After the vote, there was some conversation about helping them be successful and how do we mentor new divisions and so forth. So there might be a request coming to us to kind of help them a little bit through mentoring, but that'll come in the future. So that was the big thing. There was also a conversation, of course, that we're going back to Vegas next year. Phil has been looking at Vegas for a future conference as well. I think it's 23. Yeah, 2023. He went and did a site visit, came back and really in favor of us going to Vegas again, but it would be at a different venue. It would be at Planet Hollywood. And the big advantages to that were that you don't have to go through the casino to get to the meeting rooms. That was the big thing that people really had a problem with, that walking through that field of smoke to get to the conference. So we did vote to go ahead and let him try and negotiate that. It seemed like a good option for us. People didn't seem opposed to Vegas. They just were opposed to the Westgate, which unfortunately will be there next year. The other thing I want to mention, those of you who are on the current board, so that would be Brittany, Brandy, Jenny, myself, and Tim. You should have received an email from me a few minutes ago with an invitation for the AECT Leadership Luncheon. If you're going to be there by Tuesday, please attend that. And that's about it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions about the board updates? Cool. Well, conference is a month away, so I'm going to let Brittany chat for just a minute, tell us what's going on with that. I think she has the division dinner reservations set and that kind of thing.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm in the car, so sorry if I break up. We haven't had any planning meetings in the past couple of weeks, which I think is probably a good sign. That means that we're all shored up with most of our planning. I did make dinner reservations, and so if you'd like, I can go ahead and start, putting some stuff together to send out to the membership. I could share that with Ashley. And of course, I'm in the car, so I can't. I think it's the Yard House. I think
Yes,
that's where
it's
I
the
put.
Yard House. I wrote it down
Yeah.
just in case.
Okay, thank you. It was between two restaurants. The first one I called didn't have a space big enough for us, but the Yard House was super happy to accommodate. They have a kind of a nice menu with a lot of different options, so I thought that would be a good choice. And it's within walking distance. Brandy and I passed it when we were there for leadership, and it wasn't too terrible to get down there. And so I think that's about it. I've had a few random emails from OTP presenters wanting to make some slight changes to their presentation titles and things like that. But so far, it seems like conference planning has been smooth. And Linda just asked that we continue to try to get people to sign up for our luncheon. So that was the big thing.
We should probably have Ashley start getting involved with marketing some of that, both the luncheon and the dinner.
Okay.
How many people do we have for the luncheon? Does anybody, Jenny, do you know, or Brittany?
The last time we checked it, when Linda asked divisions to start marketing, we had 14 people. Give me a second, I can check a link. Sharon, to answer your question, if you went in as soon as registration opened, we were not included in the luncheons because somehow it got missed. We had miscommunication. We had picked too many entrees and nobody communicated that back to us. So we had to talk to them. We got it all arranged. We're going to have lunch on Friday. So like D&D has theirs on Thursday. We really didn't want to compete with them. And DDL is having theirs on Thursday. So we're doing ours on Friday. And you can go back in and add it to your registration.
And we're doing that in partnership with Systems Thinking and Change.
Yeah. And now if you give me just a minute here, I'm gonna.
Okay, somebody's revving their engine.
Sorry, that's me. It's not me, but it's me. I'm gonna mute.
Okay. And to answer your question, Nancy, we are at 15 registrations for lunch.
Okay, well, that's good. I was afraid you were going to say 4 or something.
No, it's 15, but their fear is too many people buying once we're there, because if we give these numbers to the hotel, they're not going to have enough plates to cover an influx if people buy their tickets once they go and go to registration.
Okay, so they just want to get the number in advance if possible. It's not that we're way behind or something.
Nope, we're right in line with CLT and KSET and the rest of them. The really D&D and RTD are the big one, and DDL are the big ones. Otherwise, our luncheon is right in line with everybody else, which is what their concern is, because those are down from prior years. And so they want to make sure that the hotel has enough plates, and they're afraid that there'll be an influx and then the hotel won't be able to accommodate.
Okay.
So please register for the luncheon, or go back in and register for the luncheon if you plan on attending. All right. So that covers the conference. Now,
could I mention a couple things about the conference before we move on?
Definitely.
Brittany, and you probably are the one that's going to need to take the lead a little bit on this, but it kind of occurred to me the other day that we haven't had any conversations about the welcome reception. And, normally we have the banner, of course, and we have flyers with our sessions and candy on the table, whatever that might be. But, sometimes some of the divisions do activities and games to draw people. The one year that we were the star of the show was, of course, Dan with his fire example, but we're not doing. But we do need to start thinking about what we're going to do at that welcome reception to draw people to OTP and so forth. So if anybody has ideas, the other thing is that, that always becomes an issue, and Sharon's been great about helping with this, and a couple other people. We need people to man that table during that 2-hour period or whatever it is, so that we rotate and everybody gets a chance to wander around or sit down or whatever. So just kind of be thinking about how we can cover that.
Okay. First, to address your first concern about the welcome table, and I'm sorry, Brittany, if I cut you off. I know Ashley was planning on having a computer with a projector to advertise the YouTube channel.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
I don't know what else Brittany has planned, but I do know that that was part of the plans, and probably what our big draw will be is because we'll have a video on loop.
Yeah.
Advertising the YouTube channel.
Good. Clark, I saw your question there about what are the constraints. Generally, we cannot count on having electricity. We will get yelled at if we tape things to the wall. We know this from having been yelled at pretty much every single year.
This is a new venue. Let's do it again.
But there really aren't a lot of constraints. We kind of stake out our space. They have a table for us, and what we do is up to us. A lot of the divisions do like Wheel of Fortune games and giveaways. A lot of the divisions have flyers there asking people, do you want to run for office? Do you want to sign up to be involved? It's a good way to get people's names on our mailing list.
I think we were going to project on the wall, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yes. The must fit on the table. We've never been to this venue, so I have no idea what the space looks like that they're going to give us to work in. In some places we've gone, we've been like in a hallway, so you don't have much space at all. We were fortunate the couple of years that Dan Shook really took over and did the fire extinguisher and the CPR, that we were able to block off a corner for ourselves and reserve it. But it's kind of limited. If we expect too much, we might be disappointed.
Now, they don't reserve the tables. It's a first come, first serve typically. So in the past, Nancy and myself have kind of just left that opening session and gone into the other ballroom to grab our tables so we could get prime location. Just giving you a heads up about that, Brittany, you probably want to coordinate with Ashley and figure out the earliest time you can stake a claim for that.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely get with her on that, and I can mock up some, PR stuff, like some flyers and like a sign that maybe doesn't have to be hung from anywhere. At the library, we're very fond of putting things on corkboard and then propping them up on the table using book display items. So maybe I can finagle something like that, but I'll send out some examples for everyone to look at soon.
Okay, and I have some templates and stuff that I've done in the past that I can send over to you that has our colors and our logo.
I think you shared that on Google Drive. I'll go back.
All right.
Yeah, I still have the big banner too.
The pixelated one?
Oh, it was really pixelated, so we ended up doing poster board. You're right. Never mind. It's horrible.
Ashley ordered a new one, and that one came out pixelated too.
Okay.
It's just something about our image is too low quality to print in any large scale, unfortunately.
Is the image that's pixelated in that Google Drive? I can try to get someone to recreate it if you want.
Okay. Now, we tried that once. Just please make sure you use the same font, because we got kind of in a...
yeah, the person that designed it got very upset with us for trying to adjust it a little bit. I think when we added organizational to the name, she was very offended. She owned that in her mind, and in our mind, she won a prize for making it for us, and we owned it. But So we'll want to be careful about that. I'm
But
looking at.
I have a PSD file with it.
Okay.
If you want the Photoshop file.
Yeah, that'd be good if you just want to send it my way, and I'll see if I can find someone that can do that for us.
Okay.
I'm reading Clark's comments in the chat, and
It'd be great if it was a vector
got some
image.
good ideas. So, Brittany, you may want to connect with him and pick his brain a little bit. He's asking about, what's our message? How do we want to differentiate ourselves? And I think the answer to that is always that idea of the organizational piece, bringing in the practitioner side. So if somebody's got great ideas as to how we can demonstrate or illustrate that as part of this event or whatever, that would be cool. But just need to start thinking about it a little bit, and if we need to ship things there. Clark says lots of ideas, sometimes even good. All righty then. But yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day. That's just one more last minute thing for the conference we need to pull together. Some years we've had great stuff. Other years it's been, kind of lame, but we do our best.
It all depends on our travel distance and whether or not we had a vehicle or not.
Yeah, sure. That helps.
Okay, any other questions or comments about conference? All right. One other thing that we're going to work on outside of this meeting is just making sure we got everything set up for the mentoring. I see Brandon's on the phone. So Brandon, you're going to be receiving mentoring at conference as our scholarship recipient. And so making sure all of that's all set up for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And Brittany, I'll get with you offline about that stuff.
Yeah, Brenda, just to give you a heads up, it's not meant to be super intrusive. The idea of the scholarship is to help you connect with people. And so, and Brittany's a great one to talk to because she was one of our first scholarship winners. But what we try and do at the conference is sit down with you beforehand and talk about what sessions might be a good fit for you and just kind of connect with you each day and make sure that you're having a good experience.
Great. I really appreciate that. Brittany spoke fairly highly of it back at the leadership conference this summer. It's a great venue. It's a great place, and met a lot of great people in that event, and look forward to the conference itself. So thank you.
Great.
Clark just asked a really good question. Brandon, who do you want to meet?
That's a great
Sure, put him on the spot.
Great question.
Think about it and feel free to email me if you don't want to be put on the spot right now. But it's something to consider. It's something we can help you with.
I think he was going to answer. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot. I'd like to kind of get a better feel for who's all at AECT. I know the current president, Eugene, and I spoke at length about including more industry type people and people from industry within the conference, and even, of course, about the history of AECT and how it's fluctuated and how there was at one point like a split, but that was years ago, and now things are changing, and it's just kind of it's been very, very eye-opening to hear about how the organization has been over the last decades, really. But I do think it's moving in a very positive direction, and I'd love to really kind of meet more people within the kind of the industry frame and just kind of see why they're coming to AECT. And I know why I come to AECT. But at the same time, though, I don't want to neglect the academic side either. I do have a much appreciation for the academic side as well. So, yeah, I look forward to it. I mean, I look forward to talking with you all, and hopefully you all suggestions too. So
Great.
Sounds good. All right. Now, if there's nothing else about conference, I'm going to jump to the next topic, which is webinars. We are going to have a webinar on October 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, where Brittany is going to share all the ins and outs and awesomeness we have going on at conference.
Awesome.
Right? And I'm going to reach out to Ashley so we can start marketing that once she is back and available. Now, Brandon, you can totally defer if you'd like because I didn't warn you, but with Ashley not being here today, do you guys have any updates for the YouTube committee?
Well, there hasn't been a whole lot of response, and I wonder where part of that may be, whether we're not getting kind of a clear message about what the process is, or do people see the process as, I guess, too involved to a certain, because it's very mirrored off of like an academic publication type. So I don't know if we want to kind of come across a little bit more informal, but at the same time, like, we still will review it. There's still a review process, but maybe make it come across maybe a little less formal or something like that. I know at South Alabama we had that. It's kind of a big issue with professors when it came to classes. A lot of people felt, and maybe really I should do a better job of mirroring this. A lot of people felt like their videos for their courses had to be like these big productions and full of this nice, like, great lighting and great sound and just everything's great and here's some wonderful things. But in reality, with a lot of the time constraints, just a quick little video like in someone's office, like all of us are in offices here, can do real well in classrooms, and we all know that. And I think I would like to throw out the idea of letting people know it doesn't necessarily have to be a big production. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time into it. It's something you want to talk about for 5 or 10 minutes, or you've had this experience that involves organizational training, performance. Feel free to speak about that. But anyway, that would be my update.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. That this kind of speaks to something I was talking to Jenny about this morning that concerns me, and that I'd really like for us to talk about as a board at conference, not necessarily in the membership meeting where we're bringing in people who we're trying to get into the division, but amongst ourselves at the board meeting. And I do want to open this up that our board meeting, which I believe is on Tuesday.
It's Tuesday afternoon after lunch.
There you go. That'll show up on the schedule for the people who are on the board. But you folks that have been, you don't hold an office per se, but you've been very much involved in these projects and activities and coming to the meetings. Clark, Brandon, Sharon, of course. We would welcome you attending that meeting and continuing to have a voice as we move forward. And now, having said that, I'm going to tell you what I kind of want people to think about before that meeting. We have done some really exciting, high-profile things recently. The YouTube channel is one of them. We've just recently reinvented our awards. We've got this luncheon going, and they look really good and exciting on paper. And the board gets very excited, the AECT board, about these great things we're doing in OTP. But I feel like they're not having the impact they should have. We put a lot of effort into coming up with new, more meaningful awards, and we got one application for the award. We put a lot of time and effort into this YouTube channel, which everybody thought was going to be awesome, and we didn't get any submissions. So we're doing something wrong with marketing ourselves or branding ourselves, or, maybe you're right, it just sounds too complicated, or maybe we still haven't explained to the world who we are and why they should want to participate. But I really think that we need to start talking about that and thinking about how do we keep this thing moving forward, because while we're doing great things behind the scenes, they're not having an impact. And if ultimately the division is reliant on 5, 6, 7 people who are really committed, it's not going to survive. So food for thought. I'm going to be picking people's brains while we're at conference, trying to figure out how we address that. So Brandon, I think the YouTube channel is a perfect example. That should be going gangbusters. Why isn't it?
Well, I think that's a great question. And also, I would add, as someone who is a newer member to AECT, the purpose too. Like, what is the purpose of the OTP division? And this is just kind of something to really think about, I think, between now and conference. What message do we want to put out to potential new members of, this is what we do, this is what we're about, whether it be presenting new information on, cutting edge technologies in the performance area. I follow a lot of different groups from the e-learning industry, training industry. A lot of they're constantly blogging or putting videos or podcasts out about virtual learning or customized LMS, or one there's a survey now that you can take a little survey as a company and they will narrow down LMSs for you to kind of help you in that kind of consulting. And I look at that kind of stuff and that is, of course, they are businesses and they are organizations, and we're a nonprofit and we're a conference here. But I just kind of think of, I see the value they're bringing, and I do wonder, do we all have jobs and other positions and careers we have to do? Are there little areas in which we could bring value? And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're posting stuff weekly or creating long blogs or videos, whatever. But like at least maybe once a month or some type of regular period of time in which we can bring value to our community. This is kind of something I'm going to be thinking about between now and conference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to catch everybody up in case you're not monitoring chat, Clark has been sharing some thoughts, and I just didn't want to interrupt. As we're thinking about the YouTube channel from his experience, he did one, but it's not up because once he found out all the hoops he went through, he fell off somewhere along the way because there was a lot to it that just wasn't really communicated, or it's not communicated clearly. He's also suggesting that we get outside of our bubble and think about strategic partnerships like e-learning guild, eLearnMag. They'd be good channels to look at connecting with and working through, but because they have reach, but we don't want to be them, just how can we interoperate with them? Then the last thing Clark just said is perhaps a monthly column in either of the two orgs I mentioned, where we summarize academic research implications to workplace, would get more visibility about us.
Mm-hmm. Can I elaborate a little on that?
Definitely,
Jenny?
Clark, because they're your thoughts and I'm just trying to read.
I've not been talking too much, not showing my video because I'm at the far end of the house and my router doesn't get here that well, and I don't want to lose the bandwidth of listening to you and seeing you. So I'm actually on the board of eLearnMag, and they try and position themselves as between research and practice. So they might be really open to such a monthly column. It could be rotated. So not one person's got all the burden, and that may be too often. But I think Brandon had a good point. What do you want to be the relationship between the workplace and AECT funneled through this group? And I would think, and I've seen other organizations, and this includes David Goralnik's thing that he runs out of New York, and other people making strategic relationships where they, you might agree to mention whoever you partner with, the guild or the eLearnMag, to AECT, and in return, they will promote whatever it is you're doing, like the YouTube channel. And, because they have reach, they're, eLearnMag's run by ACM, so they're kind of withstand academic scrutiny. eLearning Guild's more, is a for-profit basically, but I know the people there quite well. I know the originators and all. I know everybody on the staff pretty much, and they're good people. And they're always looking for mutually benefits. And Jane Bozarth is a good person. She's the eLearning Guild's new director of research. To have somebody who might help funnel and interpret stuff, she might be quite open. So I don't know enough about this group to really be able to present what would make sense. but I think those would be, if you're looking, particularly with Nancy, all this great energy that you're generating is happening in a very small bubble, and how can you increase your reach without increasing your effort?
Mm-hmm. No, and those are all great thoughts for us to consider and stuff that we think about.
To kind of wrap up this conversation, because I know, it's not really on our agenda and I don't want to take us way off track. I would like to, again, reiterate, Clark, Brandon, Sharon, I would very much like for you to join us at the board meeting on Tuesday so that we can continue this conversation as we transition, go into Brittany's presidency and so forth. Maybe start really making that our focus of how do we get out of our bubble, to use Clark's words. And it's going to be at the conference, the Tuesday of the conference week, Clark. So,
I have the date and time up. It's Tuesday, October 23rd at 2:20 p.m. Central Time. It's in the online agenda, yes. You should be able to find it in the program. You just wouldn't have automatically been added, Sharon, because of not being on the board.
So add yourself and be there. We need more voices. We need more input. And like I said, I don't want to have this conversation at our membership meeting where we're trying to recruit people. You don't get up and say, so we've got problems. Not a good recruiting strategy. But privately, amongst ourselves and the folks that have been closely involved, I really want your ideas because, quite honestly, it feels a little bit like where we were several years ago, and that makes
we rebranded.
Me tired. We need to find some way to sustain and to move forward. So.
And I'm happy to contribute. I can't be at that meeting. I applied to both AECT and DevLearn because I wanted to hobnob with both groups. DevLearn's an e-learning guild event. And I got accepted to both. And then I found they're both the same week. I'm actually flying to Las Vegas, doing a thing, flying to Kansas City, doing my thing there, flying back to Las Vegas and doing 2 more things.
Wow.
Welcome to
Okay, so how many minutes are you actually going to be in Kansas City with us?
Tuesday evening and all day Wednesday, and then I have to leave Thursday morning.
Okay, well, if we don't get to see you, maybe we can have dinner Tuesday night or at the division dinner on Wednesday or something, but we do want to pick your brain.
Sure. And if you guys have online meetings, where you're not reporting out like this, but you're brainstorming, I can't always guarantee my schedule. I'm at the beck and call of my clients, but when I can, I will.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, Jenny, I'll give you your meeting back now. Sorry.
That's okay. You made me think of one other thing about conference. Brandon, depending on when you're arriving, as one of our scholarship recipients, we would also like you to attend the AECT Leadership Luncheon on Tuesday if you're in.
Yes, I should have included him on that invitation.
I do.
So,
I will forward it to you.
We will forward it to you so you have it. If you are available, awesome, please be there. If you're not, we totally understand. There's somebody sneaking behind you, Mom.
I know.
Okay. I really only have one other thing to talk about, and this is actually in regards to an email Sharon has sent. She has a new committee. I don't completely understand the whole chart, so Sharon, if you want to jump in and explain it, that's appreciative. It's Finance Committee. They're looking for volunteers to assist with this new committee. So Sharon, do you mind sharing more about the committee? Because you know it best.
Yeah. For the last few years when I was on the executive team, one of the challenges that we had been hearing about from the membership was that they didn't really know where the membership fees were going, how the money was spent, how the budget was allocated. some folks who, when they would serve on the board, would get these, 55 pages of spreadsheets from Phil. And, since this is not the Academy of Management with accounting majors, it was a bit of a challenge for many people to understand. So yours truly opened her big mouth and said, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we put together a process that would be very simple? And I use the example of ATD, of what they do to explain the financials to the membership. And even AERA, as big as they are, you can get into their financials and have a pretty clear picture of what's going on. So I said, why don't we do this? So long story short, after I rolled off of executive committee, they decided, yeah, why don't we give you this as your charge to put together this committee. I shared with not everyone, with leadership of the divisions, what was approved by the AECT Board of Directors. It's what the committee should look like, what specifications we're looking for in terms of the members we want, at least on this first inaugural committee, which is why we didn't send out an email blast to the entire membership. And so far, 2 people have stepped up, both, by the way, from the systems group, Christine Sorensen and Wendy Gentry. So I need 1 more person. I thought it would be super cool if we had somebody from OTP. After all, we're supposed to represent the real world of work as opposed to academia. So I was hoping that somebody in OTP with some background and experience would serve as the 3rd person. And as you saw in the charter that I sent out, the 3 spots rotate differently. So there's one for 1 year of service, one for 2 years of service, one for 3 years of service. And after the 3rd year, the rotation is on a 3-year basis. So for the, starting out, we didn't want everybody rotating out at the same time. So Christine, who has a very strong budget and finance and accounting background, is the one I will probably select for the 3-year period to get our ducks in a row and get some ideas on reports, etc. But I'm aside from needing 1 other person, it depends on who the 3rd person is, whether that's for the 2-year slot or the 1-year slot. And there's also the opportunity, even if you got the 1-year slot, to come back in again right after that. So, and I keep reiterating, you don't have to be a CPA, you don't have to have a BAA in accounting, but you do have to know what a spreadsheet looks like. You do have to know what an asset and a liability is. I mean, some of the very basic fundamental principles of finance. Even if you just took bookkeeping 101 as an undergraduate, you can read a balance sheet. So I gave folks the drop dead date of October 1st because I'd like to walk into convention, and they put me on the spot for Monday, first day, so I had to change my flight, but that's another story. Walk in with all 3 members for this initiation committee, but I really would like somebody from OTP. It just makes a lot of sense, considering what we're doing.
Yes.
So that's my party piece. Feel free to ask me questions, thoughts, concerns, issues.
Well, I've sworn off volunteering, so it's not me.
I know, even though I was so sorely tempted, but yes, I knew. Yeah, plus you're a dean now, you don't have time for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So if there's nobody in this room right now that wants to step up and do that, maybe we could put together kind of a targeted list of people we think might be a good fit from our leadership, and you could email them individually rather than sending out an all call and ended up with God knows what.
Right. I for this round, I do not want to do an all call. Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you could send me, the list of the people who pop into your mind, and then I'll contact them and see what kind of reaction I get.
Okay.
As quickly as possible, I gave the divisions the deadline of October 1st. Clark,
Okay.
you can't read a balance sheet?
You can't read a
Did he
spreadsheet.
say no?
How can you run your own business and not read a balance sheet, Clark? Come on, don't give me that. QuickBooks is not automatic.
Oh.
You would be embarrassed looking at how I manage QuickBooks. I have, seriously, I was on a board of a not-for-profit, and I just knew not to contribute anytime the financial discussion was. I literally cannot read a balance sheet. I've never studied it. I don't know how, and I'm not that keen. Stumble along blindly and pray for the best is my final.
Well, you've got to be keen. Even if you're very basic, you've got to be interested. That's the key.
All right, thank you, Sharon. So we'll get you a list, and that way you can target people.
And
all right.
For the foundation, correct?
It's actually not for the foundation. I believe it's for like our membership dues and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's for the organization, not the foundation. Christine was at the foundation, so she knows about balance sheets. But this is for the AECT, the organization. And it's also, part of it is to get some things documented, because Phil's not going to be here forever. He may think he is, but he's not going to be here forever. And he may get hit by a bus, whatever. But there has to be some documentation so that somebody can step in and figure out what's going on. Every organization needs to have its institutional memory preserved.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just common sense.
Is this something you're interested in, Brandon? I don't want to put you in pressure. You can think about it.
Well, I mean, it's definitely something I'd like to think about. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great.
I do have, and I do have, it's not necessarily a formal financial background, but I've been part of several different businesses, several different startups. I have my own business as well, so it's not something that it's not a foreign idea to me, basically.
Okay. Well, how about this? I'll make sure your name is included when Sharon sends out the targeted emails. That way you have more time to think about it and you're not on the spot right now.
Thank you.
And if all else fails, it looks like Clark volunteered his brother.
Good luck with that. There's a lot of entailments that you wouldn't appreciate, trust me.
Well, that was everything for my agenda. We are not having a meeting in October because conference. You guys will have your membership meeting at conference. I am sorry I will not be there. However, everyone do enjoy your time. And then when we start meetings back up, Brittany will be running those as president.
Quick question about the AECT website. Has anybody been experiencing any issues with it? Because, while you were talking, I tried to log in to change my registration. I logged in, and then it asked me to log in again and again and again. And
I haven't tried recently.
I haven't had problems with it today, but I just really, if anybody asks, I do not love the new website at all. I find it hard to navigate and just, not a fan.
colors are nice.
Yeah, it's got that going for it.
Yeah.
I was able to log in, but I'm not registered for conference, so maybe it has to do with the conference registration system, because I think that's still on the old system.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I'll try the old way of logging in and see what happens.
So I don't know.
Thanks.
All righty.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. And, okay. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, y'all.
See you all in Kansas City.
See you there.